Alright, welcome back to another tutorial. So this is going to be a tutorial on how to hopefully fix the recording issue a lot of people have with Halo Infinite. I've also been having this issue and I recently found a simple and hopefully easy to configure method to fix it. Now, there's a lot of things that go around on the internet about how you can fix it, especially with Halo being very, in my opinion, unoptimized and not having a full screen mode and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to actually get it to record and stream at the best. And I don't have the best rig, so my current rig will be displaying on screen here in a moment. And you can see here, I don't have necessarily anything that's too high end. So, especially for me, I think that this fix will definitely help with future videos, especially if you've seen some of my previous ones. They have not been amazing. So we're going to jump straight into it, and I'm going to launch the game in a moment. Alright, so we're going to take a look at our first setup. So we're going to head into our settings. We're going to go straight to our video here first. What I did is I set my base and output resolution both to 1280 by 720. I find this to be one of the best. I tried doing this with 1980 by 1080 and it wasn't giving me the best. With my graphics card, I think if you have a 3060 or something above that, you'll probably want to go for the 1980 by 1080 because you have a better graphics card, which might work. But for me, with the rig I have that you saw earlier, this is the setup I have under my video settings. And the other settings that I've changed is from the output. You're gonna have to change the output mode to advanced so we can see some more of the options. We're gonna head over to recording. Here you can see that I have everything set up. So my type is standard, the recording path where you're gonna save the file, what file format. I have FLV because that's my personal preference, but you can change it to whatever you want. I also have my audio track. This stuff you really don't need to change. The only thing you're gonna worry about is your encoder. So for the first setup, we have the NIVIDIA NVENC H2.28264 new. So this actually is one of the encoders that are only on NVIDIA graphics cards. So if you have a NVIDIA graphics card, you should definitely set this to this specific one. What you're gonna do down below here, you're gonna change some things. It's not gonna look exactly like this, so you're gonna add and edit some things. So what I did is I set my rate control to CBR, my bit rate to around 3500. This just helps with the quality of the video at the end of the day when you're finished recording. Your keyframe is going to be 2. It's recommended to leave it between 2 and 3, but I find the best performance under 2. My present, which is quality, this is by default quality. Your profile, which is high. I don't recommend changing it. Just leave these two as they come. You don't really need to change these two options. You can also uncheck look ahead, and you can also uh, check off psycho visual tuning. Now down here, you don't want to set anything to your GPU, so make sure you set this to 0 and your max B frames to 2. So this is the first setup you can try. And then I'm gonna start off with the next one in a moment. All right, for our second setup, we're gonna head back into the settings. Video is gonna stay exactly the same as setup 1. We're not gonna really change anything here. You're also going to head over to the output just like before, setting it to advanced and clicking on the recording tab. Here I have set it to quick sync H.264. Now I believe that this encoder is on all graphics card. I'm unsure about that, but I think everybody should have this. Everything above here is always going to be the same, except if you have special forms you want to do everything in. Down here is where you're going to make most of the changes. Here I have my target usage to balance, my profile to high. Keyframes I have again set to 2, my rate controller to CBR, my bit rate to 4000. It's different from the NVIDIA one because I find 4000 to work the best for this one, this is definitely, you can play around with this one depending on your machine. So just always, you can play around, make it higher or lower as you need. Your latency will be normal with B frames as 2. So we're going to jump into the game now, and we'll see how both of these are going to work. And you'll know which setup I'm using because it'll show up on the top right hand corner which setup I'm using. Alright, so we're in the game here. So what I'm going to do first is show you guys my settings on the game itself. So it's nothing too crazy for this specific tutorial. I have set everything to the lowest it can go on the settings menu. One key thing you need to make sure that I find the best is VSync is off. Make sure VSync is off. Your minimal and maximum frames should match 60 by 60. So these two should match. And as we saw in the previous setups, both of them also had the maximum frame rate at 60 under the video. So if we go down, everything essentially is low or off, so you guys can quickly glance at all of these settings. I've literally everything to the lowest it can go for this purpose, and you guys can follow along with these specific kind of settings here if you want to test out your rig. Now you can also see the frames up above on the left hand corner. So we're going to jump into a training session in the game, and we'll see the difference between both of the setups that I showed. Alright, so we're in game with setup 1. As you can see here on the top left hand corner, you can see my frames are still hovering around that 60 mark, but it does drop below 60 at some times. So I'm testing out this setup on a bigger map instead of one of the smaller maps because there's a lot more textures and details that need to go in. So you guys can see the difference between both of these setups, whichever one works for you. So you can see here that it is a little stuttery, but overall you're still able to get that high frame rates as you want. So we're in training mode, we have a limited life. I'm just showing you how the gunplay kind of looks like. You can always test these both methods out and see which one works for you. I'm mainly gonna be using these methods to actually just record the story mode, as I've been trying to get this stuff to work for that. So you can see here, it's not too bad. It still hovers around that 60 mark because 60 frames is our cap and min. So you can see here that it performs pretty good, and you'll see in the video that there's not a lot of stuttering as a lot of other fixes that are out there right now. Alright, and I'm going to switch over to the other recording method. Alright, here we are in the second recording method of the OBS setup. So I personally prefer this one only because it kind of has less stuttering, in my opinion, with a lot of the gameplay that when I play. As I'm testing it again on one of the bigger maps to get some more of the details in. Now the game isn't going to look amazing, but that's obviously up to you. You can decide how you want to do stuff for that. But overall, with the lowest settings on my computer, with everything set to low, it works really well compared to what it was before any of these changes were actually implemented, which I will show you that as well at the end of this video for like how bad that was working. So I'm gonna head over to the bad setup. Bad setup, a lot of people online have been suggesting, and I think this works for some people but not everybody. A lot of people have been suggesting that the user adds something called a game capture to their list of things that they're using, but all this does for me is cause a lot of issues with the frame rate. So if I was to actually include the game capture, which is also capturing my Halo Infinite gameplay right now, with nothing else changed, and if we jump into Halo Infinite, you'll see that there's a lot of issues here. You can see that the video actually freezes pretty often, even if it's giving me a good frame rate. You'll see here there's constant freezing in the frames, and it's just not very easy. So you can see here all of these frames. So if I'm running up to this person or this AI, it keeps freezing. And this is not prominent in the first and second method that I showed before. They don't keep pausing and freezing. I think this AI has given up trying to kind of kill me. He just doesn't care at this point. Um, so yeah, that's why I think handling OBS without the game capture is a lot better. Um, it just makes the game a lot more enjoyable instead of it keeps pausing every 5 seconds for the game or your recording to update. So finally, I just want to say, so all of these fixes are not permanent. So I'm hoping the game will eventually, or the studio will eventually make it easier for us to record. Some other things you should make sure is, if not mentioned already, your NVIDIA graphics card or whatever graphics card you're using is all up to date. Nothing is being held back by any other stuff. Make sure you meet the minimal requirements for the game, and I am recording the game in windowed mode, and you can always switch between display capture and the actual window capture. I see no difference with it, but for this demonstration I was just using the display capture because I had to record the whole screen with OBS. So I hope this was able to help anybody, and if you find another solution, please leave it down below, and I will see you guys in my next video, whichever one it will be.